Okay, Mike Masato, CEO of Staff Driven Dental and the Dental Road Warrior, returning for episode 79 in this series. So today I want to talk about how you get yourself into trouble in your practice, doctors. This is for doctors, you're listening, and if you're a staff member watching this video, please relay this on to the doctors and have them watch this. Because as observing doctors that I coach, these are two of the primary problems that I see doctors go down the path of getting themselves into trouble. And what I mean by trouble, I mean their practice not running and going the way they want it to go. And it starts at the top. That's been a common theme in all of my videos that I do, that at the end of the day, the buck stops with you, doc, and your name's in the door. It's your practice, it's your future, it's your team, these are your patients, and how you go, so goes the practice. And two of the top things that I see in coaching doctors all the time that get themselves into trouble is two things. One, you don't want to change, and you don't want to lead. So I want to speak to those two things. Not wanting to change and not wanting to lead. Now we don't often do this on purpose. This is not, we don't intentionally go into the practice and say, you know what, I don't want to change anything, even if it's better, and I don't want to lead this team. But that's kind of what happens. And often we get into this situation when I get hired to come in, or my coaching teams get hired to come into the practice, that a doctor thinks, well, I wrote a big check to this consulting company or this consultant coming in or coach, and they are going to solve all my ills. They're going to come in, they're going to take over here and do everything that I cannot. And that really should not be your goal, is to just throw money at something and hope a miracle happens and cede over your practice to an outside agency of some sort, or an outside entity of any sort to come in there, because that's not how you get better. And the true power of coaching is you get more able and capable as a leader in your practice, so you can do this stuff on your own, because it gets very costly if you're going to need coaching support every day of the rest of your life for someone to intercede on every single decision to make everything go right in their practice all the time. That's not the goal of coaching. A good coach will coach themselves out of a job at some period of time in the future, or at least coach themselves into a situation where they do not need to spend as much time and intensity and spend as much time supporting you as need be every single day, because you have gained the ability now to be able to do this on your own. You've gained the knowledge. It's kind of the same thing clinically. There was a reason why you graduated at a clinic at a certain point. You got a certain skill set, enough to get out of clinic, enough to get your license. The same thing goes when you got into practice and your clinical skills continue to develop. There comes a point where I don't need this additional, training or someone to stand over me and show me what to do clinically. I know it. This stuff that I teach and my coaches teach, you need to learn this stuff and make it part of you. The business and people part of what you do is vitally important. And this is the stuff that drives every doctor crazy. I see all these Facebook groups and all these doctors online commiserating about how terrible and difficult and challenging things are that they're facing. And they're asking for advice from 5,000 other people that are going to give their insights about things. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you, doc, making this change within yourself. Otherwise, this is going to continue to happen. You're going to continue to put Band-Aids on things, put stopgap things in temporarily. It doesn't address the source of the problem, because it starts with you. And it starts with wanting to get better as a leader in your practice. There is a responsibility you have as a leader when you come into your practice to guide the team and the business to the levels you want it to be at. Whether it's the getting better at the front of the house, day-to-day operations, or the back of the house, like whether it's accounting and bookkeeping and billing and insurance and all legal matters and employment issues, whatever. It's just getting more and more knowledgeable about that and better about that and being savvy. Being aware. How many times I go in, doctors not even aware of the numbers, not knowing their profitability, not knowing any of the statistics, the vital measures to keep for your practice. Can't operate like that. We're like ceding that over to them. Whenever I meet with my accountant, at some point I'll find this information out. This is something you need to know every day as a leader. You need to know what's going on with your team. You need to be in communication with them. You need to be addressing problems that you see in practice before they become snowball into major things. Right? Looking at these things every day and being on top of things. You just can't put your head down, walk into the practice, let me go into my room, start doing my work, doing my clinical work, get on an autopilot, get on that treadmill day in and day out. And that's what happens with a lot of practices that I meet. They just go in there and you want to just step into the practice and be a producer and do what you love to do, which is dentistry. But unfortunately, there is another element to this, and it is your business. And most of the time, I don't have doctors telling me, or I would say virtually every single one of them, well, I don't like coming here because I don't like doing dentistry. That's not the problem. The problem is all the other stuff in practice that drives them crazy all the time. And the reason why it's getting to them is because they don't want to lead and take charge and do the next thing, which is change, right? And change is good. Things are constantly changing. Nothing ever stays the same, right? But nothing changes if nothing changes. And I've said this in videos before too. Nothing changes if nothing changes. One of my favorite quotes. So your practice is constantly in flux. Is it getting better? Or is it getting worse? And I'm telling you, if you're letting it just go on its own, it's probably going to go down the wrong path, and it's not going to go the way you want it to go. It needs direction. The operative word is control over the practice. You want to put it in that positive direction every single day, but you have to be willing to change, to allow change to come into your life, to change yourself sometimes as a person. And that's another tough thing, looking at yourself and saying, how can I change to be a better person in relationship to my patients, in relationship to my staff every single day? Right? And gaining that awareness, because when you really gain an awareness of how you are and how you're being about what you're doing every single day, not just what you're doing, right? It makes a massive impact that you're going to have across all levels of practice. And this is the area, I guess, that doctors don't want to spend time developing, working on themselves. I often make the joke, I didn't come out of the box this way. It's like, Mike, how do you know all this kind of stuff? How do you seem to have all this information? Well, look, this is years of work on myself. I take the time to try to look at myself to get better all the time at what I'm doing. I'm always constantly learning. You need to do this too, but it starts and ends with change. So if you don't want to lead and you don't want to change anything in the practice, guess what? Things will not get better, and eventually they will go worse down there. So you have to make a decision at some point to say, you know what? I've made a decision. I'm going to step to the plate. This is I'm going to take back control of my practice. I'm going to make it go the way I want it to go. I'm going to get guidance to help me get there, because I may not know what to do and how to do it to do that. But I'm going to bring someone into my life who's going to guide me, and I'm going to take the coaching, and I'm going to get more and more able to do this stuff on my own. So one day I can master this in practice like I master the clinical aspect of my dentistry. That's what needs to happen, right? And you have to be willing to change, because if you don't want to change, and if the staff wants change, and we want change coming in as coaching, but you don't want to change, nothing's going to change, because it starts and ends with you, right? So this is a little of a reality check video, because this is what I encounter all the time. That holds great doctors back. I mean, a lot of great doctors, a lot of talented doctors clinically out there being held back by these couple of things. All right. So don't look for the easy way out. Don't look for the crutch. Don't look to just throw money at something and expect a miracle is going to happen. That's not the way it worked. Didn't work that way in dental school. I'll write a check for $250,000 and I'm going to get an education and I'll be a great dentist. There was work involved. You had to apply yourself. You had to go in there and be moldable and changeable and willing to learn about yourself and your limitations and your strengths, your weaknesses. Same thing goes when it comes to coaching and bringing coaching into your practice, because at the end of the day, if the practice doesn't end up where you want it to be, there's only one person to blame. There's only one person to look at and to accept responsibility for that, because that's what true leaders do. They look at themselves and, you know what? If things are going great here, I take responsibility for that. But guess what? If it's going bad, or it's going down the tubes and we ain't happy with it and I'm struggling, it starts and ends with me. What did I do to get myself into this condition, in this predicament? Start there. And then everything in your universe is going to open up from there, and things are going to get better. But if we go around pointing fingers all day, great leaders don't blame. They don't go around pointing fingers and blaming everybody else under the sun or everything else under the sun. And I've heard every excuse in the world as to why I'm not being successful in practice, except that, well, maybe it has something to do with me and my limitations and what I'm doing to hold myself back or sabotage myself. So just think about that for a second. This is not an attack. This is a contribution, listeners, not a criticism, because everybody that's listening to this can improve. We can get better, and we can become better leaders, and we can change if we really want to, right? So if you enjoy watching these videos, as always, please share them, and I'll be back before you know it with another episode. Thanks again for watching.